It opens the wounds of its victims and exposes the ignorance of those who perpetrated. It robs us of the dignity that so many fought for. And racism divides us. Just look at us. At the very moment we need to be standing together, we're being torn apart. It doesn't have to be this way. And when I look back, I still at times marvel at what we've achieved together. Many. In fact, some said we had no chance. They said our history was just too unfair. It was just too brutal. They said that the scars inflicted by centuries of colonial rule and half a century of apartheid laws were just too deep. They said forgiveness and reconciliation were impossible. And then came along a leader who taught us that our scars would not be healed by more hatred, but only by love and understanding. The humble man, incarcerated for 27 years for fighting against racial domination, was the embodiment of forgiveness and reconciliation. He urged each one of us to look beyond our differences and find our common humanity. And so we did. Like in a marriage, we made a commitment to each other. Our antenuptial agreement was the constitution that was signed 20 years ago on the 8th of May, 1996. On that day, we vowed to respect each other. We vowed to grow old together. We vowed to stick together through thick and thin, in sickness and in health. At first, our relationship flourished. We celebrated each other's successes as if they were our own. But when tragedy struck, we mourned together. But when the honeymoon ended, we found that we hardly knew each other. Now, after 2 decades, we sometimes struggle to recall what we saw in each other in the first place. Because 2 decades into a new democracy, it does feel as though we are drifting apart again. Part of the problem is that we, as Black South Africans, are still made to feel inferior because of the color of our skin. And this inferiority runs deep. I remember growing up not far from here. We used to refer to successful black people and we'd say to them, "Eita ngamla." It's another word for white person. I can't tell you how many times I'm told by Black South Africans that I have done well because I happen to be married to a white South African. Apartheid was so dehumanizing that often, even today, white South African remain the benchmark that we set for ourselves. South Africans, Democrats, how can this be?